Good evening, my fellow friends, my fellow neighbors, my fellow shining stars, boys and girls, children, parents, teachers, librarians, educators, all those who love great children's books. Our next trolley stop is now. Welcome back to Empowered Publicity and episode number 13 of the Story Time with Mr. Jonathan. Boys and girls, my name, again, it's Mr. Jonathan. I'm really looking forward to spending some time with you here this evening. Can you believe that we are past the halfway point of the month of July? Me neither. Can you believe that we are halfway through our 6-year anniversary celebration that we've been spending this month together? Me neither. But there is so much magic and so many miracles that are in store for all of you this evening and over the course of the coming days and weeks ahead, because boys and girls, of course, this is the summer of magic and miracles. It is shortly after 7 o'clock Eastern Time, Thursday evening, July the 16th, to all of our friends and neighbors and shining stars out on the West Coast, especially out in San Diego, California. It is shortly after 4 o'clock Pacific Time. Boys and girls, I'm really looking forward to sharing something that's really special. I feel that it's very timely. It's a very apropos message. It's a big word that Mr. Jonathan is using right off the bat, so you know it's going to be a fun trolley stop here this evening. We're going to be talking tonight about courage. Courage is something that's very important when you're a child, and as you continue to grow older, you can learn to step more and more and more into your courage. But there's times in our life where we might be afraid. We may have fears and doubts and insecurities, and we may temporarily disconnect from our courage muscles. Well, tonight, boys and girls, and this week here on the Story Time with Mr. Jonathan, we're going to be talking a little bit more about courage. You know what we love to do here at the Empowered Publicity Story Time with Mr. Jonathan. We share some brand new heartfelt children's books with all of you, our friends and neighbors, our listeners and viewers, our shining stars. And of course, we share valuable lessons from the heart of our favorite neighbor from the other side, Mr. Rogers, the host of the long-running children's television program on PBS, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. Now, boys and girls, if you're tuning in, you and your parents, your grandparents, your teachers, if you're doing this as part of your summer reading, if you're tuning in this evening and this week as part of your preparation for the forthcoming school year, and if you're wondering, well, Mr. Jonathan, who is Mr. Rogers? Well, you might be a little bit more familiar with Daniel Tiger, of course, the star of Daniel Tiger's Neighborhood on PBS. Well, I like to think that Daniel Tiger's grandfather is Mr. Rogers. Long before there was Daniel Tiger's Neighborhood, long before Barney the Dinosaur, around the time when Sesame Street came on the air, Mr. Rogers, he helped through his love, through his courage, through his kindness, he helped not only myself, Mr. Jonathan, but he helped thousands upon thousands of children all across the country and around the world to live better lives, to open up our hearts, to remember how special and loved that each and every one of us was, are, and will forever be. He spoke to children and parents and families of every race, color, creed. He really inspired all of us to live better lives, boys and girls. And there was a time, and we're going to be talking about this later on tonight's edition of the Story Time with Mr. Jonathan here this week at Empowered Publicity. Over 51 years ago, that's a lot older even than Mr. Jonathan. Going back to the late 1960s, boys and girls, Mr. Rogers, of course, he was on PBS, but if it wasn't for one specific day in the life of Mr. Rogers, he was called to testify to the U.S. Senate Subcommittee on Communication, who were trying to pull the funding for what would become to be the PBS and PBS Kids that we all know and love today. Well, Mr. Rogers spoke from his heart, even if it may have looked like his voice was shaking a little bit. He flexed his courage muscles, boys and girls, and thanks to him, PBS received the necessary $20 million worth of funding that they received. And of course, now there's these wonderful and amazing programs on PBS and PBS Kids. So in addition, thanks to Mr. Rogers, one of our favorite neighbors from Quebec, Canada, boys and girls, those are our neighbors to the north. One of our favorite neighbors, Patrick Arguin, has written such a beautiful children's book series called Tools of the Heart. And this evening and this week on the Story Time with Mr. Jonathan, we're going to be sharing one of those books of the Tools of the Heart series entitled Colin's Courage. So you can see how everything blends together and how we're going to be talking about some very important things that are connected to courage. My intention for all of you boys and girls, as well as your parents, your families, whoever you may be watching with this evening and this week, is that you feel more confident, that you feel braver, that in the process you can express how you feel. And then also to respectfully stand up for yourself. We're going to touch upon all of those things tonight. If I may, boys and girls, I'd just like to be able to say my hello to all the big kids that are tuning in this evening, to all of you, my fellow neighbors, friends, listeners, viewers, and shining stars. Thank you for what you are continuing to do for the children, not just over the course of these past 13 weeks. It kind of seems like everything is becoming this blur, so to speak, but at the same point in time, we're really doing our part to enjoy each and every present moment that we have together. We're moving forward confidently with our next steps into the second point, the second chapter of the month of July, and August is going to be upon us sooner than we know it. So I want to thank each and every one of you for taking the time to not only look after and nurture the minds and the hearts and the souls of your little ones and those that you are being called to watch over, but in the process to be able to also spend some time reconnecting with your own inner child. Because honestly, if it comes to, just have to turn on a little music here in the background. We go with the flow here at the Story Time with Mr. Jonathan. If it's not for taking the time to reconnect with your inner child, the relationships that you have as parents and as grandparents and as custodians of children, they can be so much stronger when you take the time to do the inside work and love yourself. So however you're actually doing that, thank you for still being with us here in the process. If this message of courage, by the way, if this message of courage, Colin's courage, reconnecting to your courage, if it's inspiring you, if it's helping you to open up your heart, if you feel that it needs to be shared with someone in need, we encourage all of you to share episode number 13 of the Storytime with Mr. Jonathan. If you're watching on Facebook, if you're watching live, or if you are catching us on the replay, the archive at our official website, empoweredpublicity.com, or if you're watching us on Facebook or via the Empowered Publicity official YouTube channel. Thank you for the subscriptions, by the way. Feel free to share episode number 13 of the Storytime with Mr. Jonathan on your favorite social media platform of choice. So boys and girls, I know that you are eagerly excited. I am too. That's a fun expression, eagerly excited. So without any other further ado, Tools of the Heart proudly presents Colin's Courage. And you know, one of the other things that we love to do here at the Storytime with Mr. Jonathan, boys and girls, and we're going to be sharing a little bit about our friend Patrick, one of our favorite neighbors, Patrick. Patrick is a very gifted healer in Quebec, Canada. He is what's known as a Reiki master. So Patrick has such amazing healing gifts. He has amazing healing energy. He is also an educator of many years as well, too, in addition to being one of the shining stars in the Kid Lit community. He's a very good father as well, too, one of the best fathers in Canada that I know. So boys and girls, before we start, you know what we like to do here? We like to give the great big air hug. So let's take the time, close our eyes, and to let Patrick know how much that we love him, we respect him, we appreciate him, and remind him how special that he is for doing what he does each and every day, just simply being himself, and for bringing the love and joy into the hearts and minds and souls of all of you, our little neighbors, and your parents and your families through the Tools of the Heart series. Doesn't that feel good when we give our neighbors air hugs? Yeah. Eventually, sooner versus later, boys and girls, we're going to be getting back to the regular thing, kind of the way that we used to, right? Just give great, I'm going to be at the front of the line. I know that all of you will too, right? So again, let us start with Colin's courage. The summer is slowly ending. Well, we still got some time, boys and girls. Let's not get too ahead of ourselves here. It's a great way to start the book, Patrick, by the way. Colin is taking a nap and enjoying the warm and soothing rays of father's sun. His friend Fluffy has gone to explore the riverbanks. So one of the things I really like, boys and girls, about the Tools of the Heart series, the illustrations are so beautiful. They're so colorful. They're so vibrant. And we're going to be learning more about Colin and Fluffy as well, too. Isn't that a great name of a character of a children's book, boys and girls, Fluffy? Grubber, the raccoon, is searching. We've got now 3 characters, boys and girls. The raccoon is searching the garden for food when he notices some acorns at Colin's foot. So you're wondering, boys and girls, you saw the front cover and you're wondering, well, Mr. Jonathan, what is that? Now you know that it's an acorn. So Grubber the raccoon is searching the garden for food when he notices some acorns at Colin's foot. Oh, goody, goody. And without hesitating, he gobbles the acorns up. Looks like that Grubber's really hungry. I know that's kind of like Mr. Jonathan a little bit, because I haven't had that much to eat today, boys and girls. So I'm going to be having maybe a nice big salad as soon as we're done with tonight's story time. So Grubber's got the right idea. Colin suddenly wakes up and notices Grubber finishing his meal and licking his fingers. The oak knows how rude Grubber can be, but he is not bitter and still greets him. Hello there, Grubber. Did you eat well? Nope, replies Grubber. Your acorns are too small and they taste awful. Then he runs away laughing. So I'm not so sure about this Grubber character, boys and girls. You know, it looks like that, you know, the tree blessed him with some beautiful acorns, and I don't know about this Grubber character, boys and girls. Colin feels sadness rising within him. My acorns taste bad, he thinks. And Grubber is right. They are too small. All day long, the oak's worry keeps on growing. He wonders why Grubber did not like his acorns. How can his acorns taste better? So, boys and girls, when you take a look at Colin, you see how sad he is? If some of you out there who are tuning in tonight and this week are feeling sad, that's okay. You know, one of the things that we're here to remind you of at the Story Time with Mr. Jonathan is that if there's some sort of an emotion that you're experiencing right now, or a feeling, or a combination of both, kind of like the rainbow of emotions and feelings, to just place your hand over your heart and to be with that sadness, or to be with that disappointment, or to be with that anger. Just allow it to move through you. Colin cannot stop thinking about what the raccoon said, and he feels very sad. He then decides to go into his heart to find his rainbow of wisdom. Oh, I like that, boys and girls. Colin is a rainbow of wisdom. He knows that this will help him to find his peace again. So one of the things that Colin is reminding all of us, and this is something that Colin just doesn't have by himself, boys and girls. Colin has a rainbow of wisdom in his heart. And you know what? Patrick wants you to know this. Colin wants you to know this. I want you to know this. You too, as of tonight. How exciting is this? You're receiving a special gift, that you have that rainbow of wisdom in your heart as well too. So if you're feeling down, you're feeling blue, you're feeling sad, or if you're feeling a similar emotion, a similar feeling, a similar vibration, you can close your eyes and you can tune into that rainbow of wisdom within your heart, and you will know how to be able to move through whatever it is that you're feeling. Isn't that great? I like surprise gifts, boys and girls, especially the really awesome kind, because it's long since been said that the best things happen when you least expect it. After long and deep breaths, Colin starts to relax, and he is not surprised to see an elf wearing one of the colors of the rainbow, indigo. The elf addresses Colin. Dear Colin, throughout your life as an oak, there will always be someone to mock or criticize you. And you know what, boys and girls? The elf has got the right idea, because, this is something that even us big kids, we face. There's times in our life where we feel we're doing the right thing. We're following our heart. We're taking our necessary guided steps. And there might be people who will say that we're not doing a good job, or we're doing the wrong thing, or they'll even poke fun. And I'll say this, boys and girls, I'm turning 39 years old next month. Mr. Jonathan might be a little older than many of you who might be tuning in, but that's okay. I've taken some time, especially over these past several years, to have an even stronger relationship with my inner child, so that I can take the time to forgive those who hurt me when I was growing up, and even the people who hurt me recently, whether it be today or several weeks ago, right? So the elf has got the right idea, but it's important to acknowledge that and to be at peace with that there are people that may come across our life that may not necessarily want our best interests or have our best interests at heart. Now, Colin feels Indigo's kindness and listens to him. It may happen that some people will say lies about you or try to make fun of you. Always remember this: what is important is what you think about yourself. Now, boys and girls, I have to take a brief pause here for a moment, because I think that that's a very important point for all of you and for all the big kids, for all the adults tuning into episode number 13 of the Story Time with Mr. Jonathan. So let me repeat this again. Always remember this: what is important is what you think about yourself. Colin understands, but at the same time, it's easier said than done. So intuitively, I can pick up, boys and girls, a lot of you, as well as the big kids tuning in, might be saying that exact same thing. Well, Mr. Jonathan, it's easier said than done, right? It's just a matter of what you think about yourself. Well, sometimes it takes practice, boys and girls, right? And that's how you learn to flex your courage muscles, right? When you take the time to connect to your courage, that link becomes stronger and stronger. Think about the pleasure Fluffy has when he is enjoying your acorns. We'll be meeting Fluffy momentarily, by the way. Think about all the beautiful qualities you have in the wonderful oak tree that you have become, says Indigo. Colin feels a soft indigo light hugging him with love and something special growing in his heart. So you see how everything just shifted, boys and girls? Literally, it's like Colin had an epiphany, right? He went from being very sad to thinking about his friend Fluffy and how Fluffy makes him feel. And look at that. He's got such a big smile on his face. Such a big shift, a miraculous shift just happened right now, boys and girls. Isn't that such a good feeling? What you are feeling, explains Indigo, is called self-confidence. It is always inside your heart at all times. You can always find it and listen to it. So there's the connection between courage and self-confidence, boys and girls. You have the choice to believe others or not, and you have the choice to let it bother you or not. So Patrick is helping us with a lot of ahas, boys and girls, for all of you, for your parents, your grandparents, your teachers, your librarians, your principals, all the big kids who are tuning in tonight and this week. So let me repeat this again. You have the choice to believe others or not, and you have the choice to let it bother you or not. This is one of my most favorite illustrations in the book, boys and girls. Look at that bright blue heart. Look at how beautiful it is. In fact, Mr. Jonathan, I just realized I'm wearing all blue, boys and girls. I've got a beautiful, what I like to call my angel blue shirt. I've got my shorts are blue. So I kind of got in the mood for tonight's story time with Mr. Jonathan. I didn't even realize that. I color coordinated, boys and girls. Colin opens his eyes and feels good again. He remembers Indigo's words and realizes how quickly he believed Grubber's lies. Fluffy returns from the river and joins his happy friend. How sweet it is to be together. So look at that, boys and girls. Isn't that such an amazing visual? This visual, I really feel, is representing what's going to be this, or what is and will be the second half of 2020. Because we've gone through some interesting times together, boys and girls, alone over the past 13 weeks. All of us together, we've gone through some very interesting times, maybe challenging even to a certain respect or a large respect. So that visual that we just saw with Colin hugging Fluffy, that's our visual for the second half of 2020. Doesn't that sound like a good plan, boys and girls? At Colin's foot, Grubber and his raccoon friends are searching for food. They are also making fun of Colin. Give us acorns, he demands rudely. So here comes Grubber, boys and girls. It looks like Grubber's still not getting with the program, and now he's got his friends coming along too, right? I don't know about that Grubber character, boys and girls. You are not nice to me, says Colin, and I choose not to give you any acorns. Since you think they taste awful, I will keep them for my friends who appreciate them. The raccoons are very surprised. So one of the things, boys and girls, we're going to be talking about a little bit more, but Patrick is helping us with right now, he's helping me and he's helping all of you right now, is the fact that, sometimes you have to stand up for yourself. Sometimes you have to stand up for yourself when you know in your heart that you're doing the right thing. Because it feels like it's the right thing, because it is the right thing to do. It's about saying what you need to say, but saying it confidently and respectfully. So there is a way, boys and girls, where you can just, project your anger or your hurt onto other people. That's not necessarily what we're recommending here at the Storytime with Mr. Jonathan. But if there's something you want to say, to express it confidently and respectfully, and to stand up for yourself. That's so important, boys and girls. The band of raccoons left with empty stomachs. Fluffy looks up to his friend, thinking how courageous he was. Colin is proud of him. He knows his acorns taste good, even if some people do not appreciate them. So one of the things, boys and girls, that I'm setting the intention for not only all of you, right, but for your parents as well, for your grandparents, whoever you may be sharing episode number 13 of the Storytime with Mr. Jonathan with this week. Yes, there are people who may not appreciate you in life. They may say nasty things about you. They may hurt you. They may mock you, or all of the above. But I guarantee you, boys and girls, when you take the time to open your heart, to continue to do the right things, to love yourself, to respect yourself, to be kind to yourself, and also put that same energy and intention out for other people, you will attract such amazing neighbors in your life that will love you, that will respect you, that will appreciate you, and that, yes, boys and girls, they will understand you. Because there's a lot of times, even especially as adults, we can be misunderstood. Even the closest people in our lives may feel that they understand us, but they don't. So you are now ready to attract some amazing new neighbors into your life. Feels like this is Christmas in July, boys and girls, right? We're giving away several gifts here this week on the Storytime with Mr. Jonathan. Fluffy finishes his last acorn before going to sleep. The night is softly settling in, and Colin notices that it is almost the same color as the indigo self. So it's interesting, boys and girls, because very soon we're getting ready for sleep, right? So see the beautiful moon in the sky. I like to call when the moon is full La Luna, which is Spanish for the moon. You know what I like to do, boys and girls, is that every time there's a full moon in the skies above, I like to talk to La Luna. We have some great conversations together, right? So Fluffy and Colin They're all helping us together to get some good sleep tonight and moving forth. So remember, boys and girls, these are several takeaways from Colin's courage. Remember, why do we sometimes get criticized? Everyone has different tastes and needs. Some people do not always like what is different from them. They either fear it or don't understand it, and so they criticize it. That is why it is important to stay confident in yourself. What can I do if what I hear makes me sad? If you feel sad, take the time to go into your heart and remember your qualities, which truly are worth 1,000 treasures. If it's possible, tell those who criticized you that you did not like it and explain why. Remember, do it respectfully and confidently. What if it continues? You can choose to end a relationship if you do not feel well or respected anymore. Stay courageous and kindly explain your choice. You can also seek help from a grown-up, whether it be a parent, a grandparent, a teacher, an older brother or sister, who will guide you in expressing your feelings. So know this, boys and girls. Patrick is reminding you of this. Fluffy and Colin are reminding you of this. And I am, Mr. Jonathan. We're all reminding you of this together. That if you're having trouble expressing yourself, expressing your emotion, feeling your feelings, if you're having some difficulties with a challenging relationship, you can talk to someone. Right? There's a lot of caring grown-ups in your life, a lot of caring neighbors that love you, care about you, and only want the best for you. So look at this beautiful, this is how we're all feeling now, boys and girls, because we're flexing our courage muscles. And as the result, we're becoming more confident. We're expressing how we feel, and we're respectfully standing up for ourselves. Isn't that such a good feeling? So what we're going to be doing, boys and girls, is there are, believe it or not, there is actually 7 other books in the Tools of the Heart series. And I'm going to be sharing them, and I'm going to be listing them momentarily, and I'm going to be showing you the covers of each as well. Father, Son, and Mother Earth Create Life. Fluffy and the Rainbow in His Heart. Colin Discovers Confidence. Colin and Fluffy Become Friends. So if you want to know how Colin and Fluffy got together, well, you'll know very soon. The Choice, of course, Colin's Courage, which we shared here this evening and this week. Enough is Enough, and Fluffy Finds His Well-Being. So boys and girls, what we've actually done is in the comments below, we have shared Patrick's official website, which is toolsoftheheart.com. So if you would like your parents or your grandparents, or maybe if you want to make a suggestion to one of your teachers, that they actually have copies of Colin's Courage and Tools of the Heart in your library, in your home, in your classroom. I think we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think we have almost all of them, boys and girls. We may be missing one, but I'm just going to show you what I have here handy. So this is Father, Son, and Mother Earth Create Life. And they may be out of a little bit of order, boys and girls. Just bear with us here. It's about the intention that counts. Here is Fluffy and the Rainbow in His Heart. Look at that. I think these are in order, boys and girls, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, they are. I think I'm missing the 3rd book, boys and girls. Colin and Fluffy Become Friends. We saw the beautiful blue heart. Well, this is a beautiful green heart. This is The Choice, which talks about listening to your intuition. Here is Enough is Enough, which talks about self-respect and daring to be yourself. And then Fluffy Finds His Well-Being. Look at how peaceful Fluffy is. He's in this little Zen-like state, boys and girls. This talks about self-awareness and taking responsibility. So I think I was missing one of the books. But again, boys and girls, your parents can log on over to toolsoftheheart.com. You can learn more about Patrick. You can learn more about the Tools of the Heart series, all of the amazing work that Patrick does. You can also go to Amazon.com and you can just put in Patrick's name or Tools of the Heart with Patrick's name if you would like to have your parents or your teachers order their copies through Amazon as well. So Tools of the Heart, boys and girls, here's a little wonderful snapshot of what Tools of the Heart is all about and the amazing work that Patrick is doing, not only for our little neighbors in Canada, not only here in the United States, but around the world. Tools of the Heart is a concept of books and guided meditations intended for young children. Its main objective is to provide tools that will help them develop their inner foundations. Allow your children, that's you boys and girls, on a daily basis to build and maintain a strong sense of confidence and a healthy self-esteem. Those are truly the building blocks of a self-determining and authentic way of being and living. So boys and girls, believe it or not, this is a very timely message because I know earlier today I had to flex my confidence muscles and my muscles of courage as well, boys and girls. Because again, as I alluded to, it's another big word for us here tonight and this week on the Storytime with Mr. Jonathan. There's times in your life where you have to stand up for yourself, where your heart, where your soul is saying, you need to do this, you need to say this, and not come from a place of hurt or anger just because your heart is aching, longing to be heard. Your soul is wanting to express itself. And you want to confidently and respectfully share what is on your heart and inside your heart. And I had to do that earlier today, boys and girls. So I know that Patrick's books, especially Colin's Courage, have helped countless children across the world. But I hope just with sharing this book with all of you today, just like Patrick helped me today, I hope that the both of us, Fluffy and Colin, we're helping you, or even the big kids who are tuning in, because I know that it's been a little bit of a rough go for some of our adults, right? Some of the big kids tuning in. It's been a little bit of a challenging 2020. So we hope that there's this, and I see it, I really see it in my mind's eye, boys and girls. There's this massive, beautiful, miraculous shift that has happened today, July 16th, 2020. So one of the quotes that I want to be able to share, boys and girls, I do want to talk a little bit about Mr. Rogers' valuable lessons on courage before we conclude our time together tonight. One of the wonderful places in Latrobe, Pennsylvania, which is where Mr. Rogers hung his hat. Well, technically he hangs his hat from afar. The Fred Rogers Center in Latrobe, Pennsylvania has the entire personal collection, all of Mr. Rogers' personal and professional archives. There's all of the puppets from the neighborhood of make-believe. There's, I believe, one of the replica trolleys, if not several of the trolleys are also featured there. There are so many artifacts there from Mr. Rogers, commencement speeches that he gave, newspaper interviews. The list goes on and on. But boys and girls, someone who was actually in charge of the Fred Rogers Center, I don't believe he's actually there now, boys and girls, but I believe he's with Harvard University. His name is Junlei Li. And I want to share a beautiful quote on courage. And he really is a helper very much right now in his own way. He is one of the many people across the country and around the world who have been keeping Mr. Rogers' legacy and memory alive and continuing to lead the life that Mr. Rogers is wanting us to be able to lead, and coming from an open heart. I think that the willingness and the courage to keep on trying develops best if there is someone close by who can lend us some of the strength that we do not have within ourselves. So I'm going to repeat that, boys and girls, because I feel this is meant for both you as well as for the big kids. I think that the willingness and the courage to keep on trying develops best if there is someone close by who can lend us some of the strength we do not have yet within ourselves. So I know, boys and girls, and we'll be taking a little bit more time momentarily. Every time on the Story Time with Mr. Jonathan, we always close our eyes to remember those who helped love us into being. And we'll be doing that momentarily. But I share this earlier than what we normally would, because thanks to some of my favorite neighbors, such as Patrick and my friends Lisa and Kristen, I was having a little bit of a challenging time myself this week, actually over the past several weeks, boys and girls, if I may be honest. And, they were there to remind me of the strength that I had within me that maybe it was in me all along, boys and girls. But I had to have someone kind of like hold up a mirror and say, Mr. Jonathan, here you go. You have this inside of you to move forward on the most important steps of your path. So just know that if you're moving through any sort of a challenging time, a small struggle or a large struggle, whether it be yourself or even, let's say, maybe your mom or your dad or your brother, your sister, your grandparents are navigating through a little bit of a challenging spot. See if you can do your part to be able to at least, if anything, boys and girls, remind them of the strength that they have within themselves. That's such a very big thing that you can do today and over the course of the coming days and weeks ahead. So, boys and girls, we've learned a lot thus far. And especially with the back to school season just around the corner. I know that some of you are already going back probably in about 2-3 weeks time. The rest of you are going back, I believe, after Labor Day, right? So if you're spending time with your friends in the actual physical school setting, or even if you're still doing it virtually, courage is an essential tool. It's kind of like, how like if your father, your grandfather has a toolbox and there's the crescent wrench, if there is such a term, boys and girls, the wrench, the hammer, the nails, right? Well, we all have our own toolbox. We all have our own little toolbox, boys and girls, and it's got the different things that we can tune into, right? And courage is one of those things that are in our toolbox. So if there's times in our life, on our path, where we need to open up that toolbox and say, there's that courage, there's that self-love, there's that compassion, there's that kindness. Courage really is something that's very magical in many ways. And it's something that all it takes is a little bit of time. Sometimes it takes a lot of time, but it's always there inside of us, boys and girls. And Mr. Rogers, he reminded us throughout many years on Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. The show, of course, debuted in the late 1960s and aired all the way through the summer of 2001. So for many years, Mr. Rogers, throughout the program, throughout Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, and at the end of the program, he reminded us of how loved and how special that we were, how unique each one of us was and will ever be. I always like to refer as the past, present, and the future, because when someone reminds you that you are loved, it's you are loved always, you're loved right now and moving forth from here. You might not necessarily see the effects of your courage right away, right? Let's say you made a decision today, boys and girls, to flex your courage muscles, right? There's a little thing that I'll call like a ripple effect, right? So let's say that you did something that you felt that you needed to do today, right? And let's say it's opening up a brand new path for you. And there's new relationships, there's new resources, there's much more heart energy, time has opened up. That's a good thing. So these are things it's important to be able to practice each and every day. It's not just we do it once, boys and girls, and we kind of hang it up on the hook or put it back in the closet, right? It's something that we have to be able to tune into each and every day. To touch upon something that Mr. Rogers had shared. During challenging times, his mother encouraged him to always look for the helpers, right? So boys and girls, right now in your life, you've got some amazing neighbors and you have some wonderful helpers that are there to speak your courage into reality, to help you speak your courage into reality. Because if you have a parent or a teacher say, Sally, you're brave, or Stephen, trust me, you're one of the bravest people I know, Or, Wayne Michael, you can do this. I have faith in you. Words are a very powerful tool as well, boys and girls. So I encourage you, just as, being mindful of those who may say things that, hurt you or offend you, there's more people than not that are out there that are going to uplift you through thought, through word, and through action. One of the things that Mr. Rogers also helped us to remember when it comes to courage is that it's okay to learn. It's actually a really good thing to learn. Maybe you're not necessarily where you want to be in terms of flexing your courage muscles and how that ties into self-confidence. But I can assure you, boys and girls, that as the result of our time together tonight here in our neighborhood, as the result of this week's episode of the Storytime with Mr. Jonathan, that you are more courageous, that you are more confident, that you're expressing yourself even more authentically, and that you're also standing up for yourself in the process. Mr. Rogers also reminds us of the importance of being the example. There's a quote, boys and girls, a very, very famous, but yet at the same point in time, he wasn't looking to achieve fame. He was about peace. The gentleman's name was Gandhi. And Gandhi was a change maker, boys and girls. He said, be the change you want to be in the world. Be the change you want to see in the world. So by taking the time, we're seeing a lot of people out there today, right now, over these past several months, that people are saying things to hurt people, to mock people, to put people down. We're seeing a lot of anger. We're seeing a lot of toxic energy, boys and girls, right? So you have a choice with anything, right? If you are standing up for yourself and doing it in an authentic way, if you are expressing your self-confidence, you're taking the time to love yourself, nurture yourself, you're putting that example out for your friends, for your neighbors as well too. And that's very important. And it may not be easy, boys and girls. You may feel like you might be a little bit nervous, like you might be kind of pushing through some fear, through some resistance, some self-doubt, maybe even some exhaustion, maybe even a little bit of sadness and anger. But another thing that comes to mind when it comes to courage is to give yourself the space that you need, boys and girls, right? Mr. Rogers had a very unique gift when it came to reminding us of the power of silence. He used silence and time a little bit differently than many of us do today. But to give yourself the permission to be with your emotion, to be with your feelings, to just be with yourself, to just allow yourself to be. Because many of us, especially us big kids, we spend a lot of times in our life trying to push and force and strive and do all these things. We've got this laundry list of things to do, us adults, especially boys and girls, right? And to not be hard on yourselves as well, too. Mr. Jonathan may have mentioned that a few moments ago, but I cannot speak the importance of that enough. So give the space for that. And then also give the space to allow your newfound self-confidence, your newfound courage, to allow that to flourish. Because boys and girls, it's such an attractive quality. Many people think of beauty as this external thing, like, Mr. Jonathan's got brown hair, right? Many people look at the physical exterior when it comes to beauty. And when it comes to attracting the right people, whether it be, friendships, Let's say maybe you'll have a new boyfriend or girlfriend soon. It's one of the cutest things is that, when you see, little kids have their first boyfriend or their first girlfriend growing up. Isn't that such a special feeling, right? But I share this because when you're self-confident, when you're courageous, that will attract other people. They will say, wow, like, I love that quality about you. It doesn't have to be on the external, boys and girls. So this is another component of our inner beauty, our inner magnificence. I talked to one of my favorite neighbors in Washington, D.C. earlier this week, boys and girls. One of our favorite neighbors at Empowered Publicity. His name is Jim Phillips. And we talked about stepping into our magnificence. So it's interesting how when we're taking the time to reconnect with our courage, we're also stepping into our magnificence. And boys and girls, just know a couple other quick things, that it's not too late to change anything. I think this message might actually be for more of the big kids as well, too, because, all of you are still taking the time and growing up and really enjoying the rest of your life. And the big kids are doing that, too. But especially for all of the adults that are tuning in this evening and this week to the Story Time with Mr. Jonathan. If you might say, well, Mr. Jonathan, you know what? I wasn't courageous for a long period of time. I wanted to open up my own business 10 years ago, but my brothers said that it wouldn't last and I wouldn't be successful, so I didn't do it. Or maybe your cousin said that you shouldn't, move to another state because it might be too expensive and you couldn't afford to live there, right? This goes back to the whole, what is it that you think about yourself? As long as what you think about yourself, as long as it is not maliciously hurting anybody, because we're not encouraging that in any way, shape, or form. So if there's something that you want to do, boys and girls, if there is a dream that you have, do it. This message especially goes to all the big kids who are tuning in this week. I'm seeing many, many, many of our neighbors all across the country stepping fully into their life's purpose, being called out to a new destination, being called to a new job, being called to write their first book, their first children's book, inspirational book, spiritual book, being called to open up their own business. This is the time to do this, boys and girls. So feel free to take the time to remind your mom or your dad or your teacher, maybe if they've been telling you, hey, I'd like to do this, but I'm too stupid, or I don't have the resources, or I don't believe in myself. You can take the time to be able to help your parents and your teachers and your librarians and your educators and your brothers and your sisters, your aunts and your uncles, to remember them that it's not too late, that they can tune into their courage, that they can be who they want to be, they can do what they want to do. Because this really is a time of celebration, boys and girls. It really is. But again, boys and girls, just remember, that you are your own hero as the result of taking the time to reconnect to your courage. A lot of the times that we think that the superheroes that are out there are Batman and Spider-Man and Wonder Woman and all of the other superhero characters that you see like in Marvel movies, right? The real hero, the real superhero is within you, boys and girls. You are your own superhero. Because one of the most important parts of being courageous is knowing that somewhere inside of you, that your courage will be there when you need it, whether you feel it or not, whether you believe it or not. It's inside of there. Mr. Rogers had an episode of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. We'll be sharing this in the description below as well, because we always like sharing some of our favorite episodes of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. I believe this goes back to 1993. There was an episode of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood that was entitled, Are You Brave and Don't Know It? So I'm going to share this little description, boys and girls, because we're going to begin shortly to wind down our time together. Mr. Rogers shows some ways that families and neighbors can help each other be the best they can be. He visits his neighbor, Bob Leathers, who is supervising the construction of a new school playground. The neighborhood children help to design it, and their parents are working together to make it a reality. In the neighborhood of Make Believe, one of Cornflake L's specialties, inventions, has flown away and won't come back. Mr. Aber offers to help, and Corny explains that only a very courageous person can do the job. One of the neighbors who is very brave but doesn't know it saves the day. One of the last things I will share about Mr. Rogers is that the best thing about being brave is when you try your best, and that's good enough for anybody. Sometimes even the simplest things, just like showing kindness, in this day and age, boys and girls, it's one of the most courageous things to do because it's not always the easiest thing to do. So it looks like in your own way, boys and girls, tonight, in the words of Senator Pastore, who is the gentleman that listened to Mr. Rogers' testimony back 51 years ago in front of the United States Senate Subcommittee on Communications, he said to Mr. Rogers, looks like you just earned the $20 million. So boys and girls, children of all ages, it looks like tonight and this week on the Story Time with Mr. Jonathan, it looks like you just earned the $20 million. So if you're needing to get somewhere, if you need to do something, if you're needing to open up that new business or that first business or write that first book or make that move across the country, it looks like you just earned the $20 million. Isn't that such a good feeling, boys and girls? So as we wind down our time together tonight, let's anchor all this into reality, boys and girls. One of the things that we love to do, we have a little segment called 3 Wishes here on the Story Time with Mr. Jonathan. This is where I remind all of you, my fellow neighbors, friends, shining stars, that whatever it is that your heart is desiring, whatever your heart is wishing, can and will become your earthly reality. So to close your eyes, if there's something special that your heart is asking for, whether it be for yourself or whether it be for a loved one, to close your eyes, just to give yourself maybe even just 10 seconds, and to put out that rocket launch of desire, put out that intention, boys and girls, because your wishes are becoming fulfilled. It's a lot of wishes happening right now, boys and girls, and that's such a good feeling for all of us. One of the things that we also love to do here at the Story Time with Mr. Jonathan is there are so many of you in our neighborhood who are celebrating their birthday over the course of the next several days. Many of us here in our neighborhood at Empowered Publicity, and many of you, some of the most amazing gifted children all across the country and all around the world. So we just want to take some time briefly to recognize a few of our neighbors who are celebrating their birthdays, beginning with Rich Cruz, one of our favorite neighbors, who's a very gifted photographer out in San Diego, California. We look forward to spending some time and seeing Rich soon out in San Diego. One of our favorite neighbors, Rachel Vanderwalde Cohen. Rachel, I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. She's celebrating her birthday. And 2 great gifted children's authors in the Chicago and the, I believe just outside of Phoenix, if I'm not mistaken, or someplace in Arizona, but Linda Giacomino and Diane Albert Mendel, both celebrating their birthdays this weekend. One of our favorite neighbors here in Buffalo, New York, Taz Perez. Taz helped to remind me a long time ago of the courage that I had inside of myself. And she actually felt that I helped her to share her courage and to reconnect to her courage. but it was kind of like that mirror effect, which is such a beautiful feeling. And several of our favorite neighbors as well. My confirmation sponsor and my grammar school music teacher, Mr. Contafio, Frank Contafio, was celebrating his birthday, and an amazing children's illustrator who's done such great work for many of the little ones across the country and around the world, as well as for children's authors, Julie Edwards, are also celebrating their birthdays. So you know what we'd like to do, boys and girls? To each and every one of you who are celebrating your birthday, and to all of those neighbors that we just mentioned, a little tip of the cap to Mr. Rogers. Happy birthday. Happy birthday, dear friends. We sing to you. Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday to you. We thought we'd try to tell you how we love you on your birthday. We thought we'd try to sing and dance and play today. We wanted to surprise you on your birthday and say, we love you every day, not just today. Happy birthday, dear friends, we sing to you. Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday to you. It feels like I'm parting the Red Sea, boys and girls. I feel just so much love, so much energy, so much space opening up. So again, to all of you near and far who are celebrating your birthdays, may this be the most blessed, love-filled, and magical year of your life, because that's very much going to be the case. Now, boys and girls, I am looking forward to spending some more time with you over the course of these next several weeks during the summer of magic and miracles. We have some great things to look forward to. Isn't that always such a good feeling when we look ahead to the future with confidence, with hope, and yes, with courage? One of our newest neighbors, I am so excited to share this next week. Next Thursday, boys and girls, July 23rd, 7 o'clock Eastern, 4 o'clock Pacific, we're going to be sharing the brand new children's book, The Song Garden, which is written by one of our newest neighbors, Vicki Weber, and we're going to be talking about the creative and healing power of music. And we're also going to be sharing, of course, Mr. Rogers' valuable lessons on music, right? We saw a lot of great musicians throughout the time that Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood aired, from Yo-Yo Ma. I know that that's the one that's actually coming to the forefront of my mind the most. But Mr. Rogers, Itzhak Perlman was another one, boys and girls. Your parents know who Yo-Yo Ma and Itzhak Perlman are. And if you don't know who they are, we'll actually be sharing some of their music even in the comments below, so that you can actually tune into that. Because, boys and girls, classical music, it may not seem like super fun, but I can assure you that it actually is, right? It's very healing. So we're going to be talking about not only the healing power of music, but the creativity of music as well. So that is our next trolley stop of the Empowered Publicity Story Time with Mr. Jonathan. That is next week, next Thursday, July the 23rd, 7 o'clock Eastern, 4 o'clock Pacific. We also want to make mention, before we preview our next children's book spotlight series episode, boys and girls, because we also love interviewing some of the greatest children's authors out there, some of the shining stars in the kid-lit community. Over nearly, I should say, 3,000 of our neighbors all across the country and around the world just over the past several days have tuned into episode number 84 of the Children's Book Spotlight Series. Caldecott award-winning illustrator, Caldecott award-winning author and illustrator of the brand new release, Hello Neighbor, Matthew Cordell, joined us this past Monday on episode number 84 of the Children's Book Spotlight Series, courtesy of our friends at Holiday House Publishing Incorporated and Neil Porter Books. Our heartfelt conversation with Matthew, it's now available at empoweredpublicity.com. It's available at Empowered Publicity's Facebook page and YouTube channel. So depending upon where you are watching this episode, you have the opportunities to check out this wonderful conversation that we had with Matthew. We talked so much about Mr. Rogers, the kind and caring world of Mr. Rogers. This forthcoming Monday, episode number 85, boys and girls and shining stars, all of you that are out there. We refer to you in so many different ways, but you're all still so loved and special. Episode number 85 of the Children's Book Spotlight Series, one of our newest neighbors out in Sacramento, California, boys and girls, out on the West Coast. She's an Emmy-nominated television anchor and reporter. She's an award-winning children's author, Leticia Ordaz. will be joining us to share her inspiring story and the release of her brand new award-winning children's book, The Adventures of Mr. Macaw. That is this Monday, July the 20th. There'll be a new moon, boys and girls, 7 o'clock Eastern, 4 o'clock Pacific. So that's what we have in store for you next week. Leticia Ordaz on episode number 85 of the Children's Book Spotlight series. And then we will be sharing the brand new book, The Song Garden, courtesy of Vicki Weber. And we'll be sharing Mr. Rogers' valuable lessons on the creativity and the healing power of music. It's next Thursday, July the 23rd at 7 o'clock Eastern, 4 o'clock Pacific. Now, boys and girls, before we close things out, just a little message to all of the adults watching, if I may. If you are a children's author, if you are a children's illustrator, and you would like for us to share the release of your brand new children's book here on the Storytime with Mr. Jonathan, if you would like to become a member of the Empowered Publicity family, any of the ways that I will be mentioning, you can join the Empowered Publicity family. Now is the perfect time to be able to do so as we begin our 7th year of service to all of our little neighbors all across the country and around the world. You can connect with us at empoweredpublicity.com or any of our social media platforms on Facebook and Instagram at Empowered Publicity and Twitter at empowered_PR. If you are a children's author and you are a children's illustrator and you would like to share your inspiring story and the release of your brand new children's book, just like Matthew did this past Monday evening, and just as Leticia will be doing this forthcoming Monday evening, if you would like to share your inspiring story and the release of your brand new children's book on the Empowered Publicity Children's Book Spotlight series, you know where to connect with us at empoweredpublicity.com or any of our social media platforms of choice. If you would like to learn more information about how we can be of service to you as well in your next steps, if you're an inspirational, spiritual, or children's author, if you would like more information on our media coaching and mentoring program, if you would like to facilitate your own virtual media tour, if you would like to facilitate your own book and media tour in your backyard or in a city of your choosing, leading into the back to school season or for the forthcoming holiday season, we are already making such wonderful plans to be of service to many of you all across the country, leading into the fall, leading into the holiday season. So you can schedule your own discovery call by heading on to empoweredpublicity.com to schedule your own courtesy 30-minute discovery call so that we can learn more about your vision and how we can be of service to you in your next steps here at Empowered Publicity, because that is such a good feeling when we can help and support all of you and to help your dreams take flight. So boys and girls, this has been such a fantastic trolley stop. I feel there's been a lot of healing that's happened tonight. That too is such a good feeling. So let us remember the message, one of the many messages from our favorite neighbor from the other side, Mr. Rogers. He is reminding all of you, no matter how old you are, the children that are tuning in, or the inner child in all of you, that you are perfect, you are whole, you are healthy, you are complete, that you are loved, you are special just the way that you are. That I like you just the way that you are. Our two favorite series of numbers here on the Storytime with Mr. Jonathan, 143 and 243. Boys and girls, did you know that for the majority of Mr. Rogers' natural adult life, he weighed 143 pounds? I'm still trying to figure out how that happened, right? But 143 means I love you. There's one letter in love, one letter in I, 4 letters in love, and 3 letters in you. But of course, one of the things that we always remind you here at Empowered Publicity in the Storytime with Mr. Jonathan is that you are never alone. You are never alone, even if there's times in your life where you may feel like you're alone. So 243 means that we love you. Isn't that such a good feeling? Mr. Rogers also took the time from afar to teach me this. You know what this means, boys and girls? This is sign language for friends. I like to say this is sign language for neighbors too. So this is what's happening with us, boys and girls. We're meeting many new friends. We're meeting many new neighbors. This has been such a wonderful time that we've had here together tonight and this week. So you know what we do, boys and girls? Got to hop back aboard the trolley. And it travels by beams of light. It's been a little bit stormy here today, but all storms do pass, boys and girls. Thank you for spending some time with us here tonight. Did you have fun, boys and girls? Big kids, did you have fun too? I very much did. If this message has helped you, if it's inspired you, if it's put a smile on your face and in your heart, if it's helped to shift something very difficult that you were experiencing or a challenging time in your life, if you feel that this message needs to be shared with someone, and I encourage you, from my heart to yours, to share episode number 13 of the Story Time with Mr. Jonathan on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, any of your favorite social media platforms of choice. So again, one final time, boys and girls, again, I've included the links below to the official website for Tools of the Heart, so that your parents, your teachers, those who love and watch over you, that they can purchase not only your own copy of Colin's Courage, but any of the other books in the Tools of the Heart series. So to all the parents, the teachers, the educators, the librarians, the custodians of children, thank you for what it is that you continue to do for the children of the world. Not just these past 13 weeks, but the next 13 weeks and the next 13 weeks thereafter. Thank you for taking the time to nurture and nourish your own inner child. And again, above all else, thank you for helping to walk home the children of the world. And also for your support over these past 6 years for Empowered Publicity. It really means a lot to us. So until next time, I'm going to hop back aboard the trolley. We'll see you this forthcoming Monday evening for an all-new edition of the Children's Book Spotlight Series, and next Thursday for an all-new edition of the Story Time with Mr. Jonathan. Boys and girls, let's make it a point to talk again very soon, okay? I always love our neighborhood visits together.